What's up, everybody? Another episode of Broken Bear Conversations. I don't know what episode this is. Either, I think maybe 13, which is a good number.
13 is a great number.
It's a great number, yeah. And it's another day in Seattle.
Beautiful.
It's raining.
Rainy Seattle day.
Yeah, it's a nice background though. We got the birds flying, I wonder how do they fly when they're wet, but... Right, you ever thought about that?
No, I honestly never have, but yeah, that's true.
It just popped into my mind, but yeah. Anyway, Broken Bear Conversations on TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, and YouTube, everywhere.
Everywhere.
I'm Seiko.
I'm Josh.
Yep, and yeah.
Broken Bear Conversations.
New. It's Sunday, man. And you said you had a topic you wanted to talk about.
No, I just was curious in different things. I know you brought up that I thought was your uncle, but it was the guy that you work with at the chicken place, right?
Yeah.
Where people think differently, and I'm fascinated by this. That you were saying that he couldn't say words in his head. He didn't have a monologue, right?
Well, I asked him this because he was Mexican. To give some context, my coworker at Heaven Sent Fried Chicken. I remember that guy.
Wait, is it good fried chicken?
That place is good, man.
All right, so I'm looking for good fried chicken right now.
But what sucks though is that the closest location to here was Renton, the one I worked at, but it closed down.
God damn.
So now the closest one is Everett or Lake City, which is further. But it was good.
All right.
But anyway, at that location, I had a coworker. His name was Juan. And I asked him, I forgot why I even thought about this. I think maybe I seen it online or something. But I asked him, I'm like, hey, because he speaks two languages, Spanish and English. So I asked him, I'm like, hey, when you think in your head, do you think in English or do you think in Spanish? And he told me, he looked at me like I was crazy, And he told me, what are you talking about? But now looking back, I think he looked at me like I was crazy because I don't think he even had an inner monologue.
Yeah, and that's one thing I started to realize. I think it's because I honestly thought everyone did, and I think majority of people do. I don't know if that's true or not, but I really feel like the majority of people do, just because it's in movies a lot and it's in our culture. Otherwise, wouldn't they be like, hey, why is it like that? Wouldn't they be? I figured that would be a topic. So I'm assuming majority of people do.
I think there's actually a good chunk that can.
Yeah, I think it's like 80% from what I remember reading, but there are people obviously that don't, which is strange. That makes you wonder how they think things. I always had this thought, what do deaf people? How do they have an internal monologue? What would that be? Because it wouldn't exist, Or it's like if they did, what voice would it be?
Right.
They've never heard their sound, So I need to talk to a person that has that impaired. That has their hearing impaired, because I'm curious. Because I know there's some that got the cochlear implant that eventually started talking, but they couldn't really hear very well. So I'm curious if something changed. That is something I am genuinely fascinated about.
Now that you bring up the deaf situation of wondering what they hear or if they have an inner monologue, now I'm thinking in that same thought process, what does a blind person see if they were to take shrooms,
Yeah.
Do they actually see a visual trip? Or do they just feel like they're high, It
is interesting, because I know if a blind person, even if they were young, but they could see when they were little, even if they don't remember it now when they're old, they'll still dream in active, very vivid visuals, which
really?
is, I remember hearing them talk about that, which I thought was fascinating. But if they never seen, their concept of what things are, it's I can kind of understand it because I do have aphasia, and I've brought that up a couple of times. I don't know if I could explain what that is, but not having a visual imagery, but so in a way I am like that. So I try to think of it's odd to me, if I close my eyes and I understand the concepts of stuff. So I think of a blind person, if they feel a chair, I don't know what if they do have, because someone say they do have visuals, but they're make it up. This guy was talking about how he just make up what he thinks a thing looks like. It probably looks nothing like it. And colors, what is a color to them? They've never seen a color. How do you describe a color?
That's a good point. You can't describe a color because usually we use colors to describe other things. But now that I think this is a good topic because you're wondering, how do these people that have these impairments think or see? Well, I am speaking to a person that kind of has an impairment, which is aphasia. So I'm actually kind of curious, because we've talked about this a couple of times, but
Never
when you
went
dream,
depth.
what do you see?
Dude, my dreams are vivid.
You know?
Super vivid.
I'm gonna fix my mic. Boy.
Yeah. My dreams are super vivid. They can feel like a memory. Like some of them will feel so real. Like when I wake up, I'll remember it. I'm like, oh no, it's a dream. But some will be like, wait, did that happen? Like, was I just thinking about a memory or something like that? You know, it's like
All right, I'm gonna do
momentary pause.
I'm gonna just hold my mic for the rest of the episode. Fuck it. All right. So, go on.
But
no, this works. This works. This works. This works. For the audio listeners, my mic stand came off the table, so I'm just holding my mic.
But anyway, yeah. So it's wow, I was on train of thought, man. What were we talking about?
I was asking you, since you have aphasia,
Yeah.
which means that you can't really see things in your head. You can't
no.
picture like objects. You know, like if I were to say, I read pipe, like you wouldn't be able to really.
The only way
you would have trouble. You would have trouble.
So even though you said that, you said red pipe.
Yeah.
And I immediately, my brain tried its fucking best to conjure up what I would say is an image, and it can't be an image like how I don't know how people's brains are normally. Mine literally. I'll have something come in for like a split second. It doesn't even feel like a second. It just like it looks blurry and underwater, and it was like I had like something of like relate to a fire hydrant type thing, and I know that's not a pipe, but it was like I had a fire hydrant come to mind.
Really?
And it could be because we're near a dog park, but it wasn't clear. It wasn't like looking at a fire hydrant. It was more just like if you're driving really fast on the highway and you happen to glance at one, oh, fire hydrant.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's how I sometimes, and it's only my memories.
Okay.
So I've the people that I've talked to that have had aphasia or have it, some of them do not dream at all. Like my cousin, he does not have it. The reason people
Wait, he has aphasia.
He has aphasia.
Oh shit!
And
Your family has some family members have it.
When I did research, a lot of the time because there's not enough information about it. I think the phrase got coined in 2015, so there's not a lot of information of how people get it. So it's very new. So not a lot of people really know anything about it. Some people have it, don't even realize it. Yeah. Sarah at work, I was talking about it, and she's paused. She's like, I think I might have that.
Oh my
like,
god,
what?
that's crazy.
And I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, and then she's like, I was talking about things, and I was like, and she
that's crazy.
And she's never heard of it.
That's crazy.
The only reason I learned is I was on YouTube and I saw videos like
she really has it.
She really has it, yeah.
Wow.
But she doesn't even dream. She said she just never remembered any of her dreams.
Wow.
But
that's freaking
and
crazy.
even with me with my memories, I still can sometimes sort of image things, but it's only if I've seen it. If I've never seen it, I can't do anything. Like when people try to describe something that I've never seen, I have no idea. Like I'll glaze over. If you look at my face, you're trying to describe something, I'll have this glazed look. I'm trying to understand, so I'm like really thinking about it.
Yeah.
So I try to understand the concept. So when you say a table, I'll think of a table. So I see this out of the corner of my eye. I understand the concepts of a table. I can understand that, but I cannot pull and conjure. If I try my hardest at will, nothing. When I get an image that's sort of in my head, that's a memory, it's like you trying to draw back. I don't know how clear they can be. Me trying to draw back, nothing happens. Randomly, they will appear. Like I remember when I really started paying attention to this stuff, me and my wife I was asked like, hey, we should go for a walk later. As soon as I said the word walk, I got this sort of fuzzy imagery, same thing. It's like going on the highway really fast. It's super quick, but it was like a Victorian couple aerial view of them walking arm in arm, that's not my wife. My wife is mixed. She's black and she doesn't wear Victorian clothes. But that was probably from a TV show I seen, and it represented what I wanted to have a stroll, and that was a stroll. So it's like my brain still tries to work. Obviously, it's impaired, and how aphasia works from things I was looking up. A lot of it can due to head trauma. My cousin that I was telling you about, he actually, when he was like maybe around 2, he fell down from like one story and he hurt his head really bad. My cousin dropped him, and he's my second cousin, so my cousin dropped him when he was a baby, and he fell, and he ended up really cutting his head really bad. Has a big scar, and he has aphasia. When I was explaining stuff, and I asked him about it, I was like, "Do you ever image things in your head?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, like when I asked you to picture this, can you picture something? He's like, in my head? I was like, yeah. He's like, no, I've never had an image in my head. And then he also said he doesn't have an internal monologue.
Wow, so he can't see or hear in his
no,
head.
but he says how he does talk, he does monologue stuff, but it's out loud. He kind of mumbles it to himself. So I think some people that may not do it in their head, they'll just be like saying it, mumbling. And I've ran into people like that.
Interesting.
So like I'm really fascinated by that. And then it does impair me because I do try to draw, and ever since I was a kid, I always struggled, and I used to draw decently well, and it makes me wonder, did I always have aphasia, or did it just? I've had a lot of accidents, and I had abusive father, stuff like that, and that could have caused my head injury. But I've also had a lot of concussions because of ADHD.
You just have a lot of bad variables that happen to you at a young age that could cause a lot of things in your adulthood.
It is possible, and it does kind of freak me out, but it's like their brain, because it's jello in here. If you really see how it moves around, it is, and it's like there's no feelings in it, no nerves, so it's like well, it's just shaking around, and it makes you even terrified. Like especially what happened to that one dude that was in football. I don't watch sports, that he got hit real hard and he just collapsed. What's his name? Do you watch sports at all?
I don't. Was this like a big thing that
happened?
It
was a really big thing. We were talking about it at work, and I was like, oh shit.
Oh, was it? Was it like CTE, that type of thing?
I don't even know what that means.
Oh, it's like a term when it comes to like football or like fighting sports.
Okay. They canceled the game. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, in the middle of the game,
whole game?
He got up and he collapsed. I forgot this guy. He's a famous dude, I guess.
That's
I don't know.
crazy.
Like he just like got up and then he just collapsed and he ended up he was in ICU forever. When he woke up, I was like, who won? That's his first question. Who won the game? And the doctors were like, you won. You won the game of life because you weren't supposed to. We shouldn't have been alive.
Was he in a coma?
I think he was like, I think it was a lot of stuff. I wish I read more. I shouldn't have brought it up. I wish I read more stuff about it. I wish I was more sports.
It's okay.
But it was crazy. But he might end up having aphasia if he got a.
Wow.
I just know head injuries are a big factor, but it's also trauma. Trauma might be a big factor.
It's just anything that affects the brain. Because trauma affects it mentally, like not physically. Yeah. Then trauma itself, physical stuff affects it physically.
And so that's the thing.
That fucks it up.
Most people don't know.
Brain's important.
Don't know quite a bit about it. There's some people that do know some things, but I wish there was more information. So I am on this path of discovery. So I sit there and I ask questions. I try to understand. Even my cousins and nephews that have that don't have it, I'll ask them so many questions on when you image things, how does this work? Because I want to see if I can fix it. Can I fix this? But I don't want to waste my energy if I can't. But I'm just trying to understand it, and I don't think I can ever truly fix this. Yeah. But I can understand it enough. So when I do
how to live with it,
and how to manage it, because I realized why reading I struggled. I didn't know why it wasn't. I used to read all the time as a kid, which tells me I must have not had this. Yeah. But I don't know when it happened. I don't know when triggered happened. I just know I stopped drawing in 3rd grade. I don't know why. I know the divorce happened, and maybe that could be part of trauma. Could the divorce, because that's as a kid, that's your world. Could that have affected me in that much, that way, where I develop aphasia? I don't know. I wish there was more enough about it.
What's interesting about, well, maybe not interesting, but this is when you brought up divorce. My parents aren't together either, right? Yeah. So what do you think about this? Do you think it's worse? Of course, there's no definite answer for this, but do you think it's worse when you're growing up to have your parents already be split, or do you think it's worse to have them split down the line? I think the answer is actually pretty apparent. Now that I think about it.
What do you think the answer is apparent?
I think in my opinion, it's worse to have them split down the line, because at one point you did have your world with these two people in it, and then now later on they're not together anymore, But if you just coming into this world with them already split, then that's already your world. That's your norm.
So in some ways I would say yes, but I think they're both bad.
Yeah, of course they're both bad.
They're both bad, of course, but they'll affect you differently. So if you go into the mind as a kid, and this is where people I think really forget things. Yeah. As a kid, if you think your whole world, you just probably know your home, your school, your family. There ain't much else really outside of that. You don't do much. Yeah. It's like I remember when I took my cat out here, I was trying to show him around. He freaked the fuck out because the world's so big. Everything he knows is so small. He started shaking immediately because it's so much to take in. He was looking around everywhere. It was so much. So think about it as a kid. Have you ever seen a kid freak out because something stupid happened? They lost something, broke something. That thing is so important because that's part of their world. That's all they know. Yeah. So things that might seem to us like a little curb of a problem, to them that's a fucking mountain. Yeah. So a divorce, even though that might in some ways be better, that is their world. You at that young of age. That's ripped apart. They're changed forever. So they may have known this it's not gonna be that big of a factor. It's not gonna affect them that much. It obviously will, but how the parents handle it, that's the difference. If they're there, if they're still trying to be parents, which most time when you're in divorce, usually there's both parents are shitty. One's usually shitty, or sometimes it's just because they don't work together, but they're both gonna be great parents.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. I had one parent that was great, but then they had to work 2 jobs to factor in. My dad did not want to pay rent. I mean, not pay rent, but pay child support. So they didn't do any of that. So it's like,
what?
So yeah, so the divorce happened, then one parent doesn't ever want to see the family that much anymore. And so it's like when that happens, so it's like that happens a lot. And then if they're not paying child support, which again, most guys are fucking shitty. They're not paying child support. So then the mom has to take everything on her shoulders, and then the kid's not gonna have the mom anymore. So now this world where you had 2 parents that were there, you can hang out, and they're gonna be there in the evening and hang out. I didn't have a parent in the evening. It was just my brothers and my sister.
Because your mom's working.
The mom's working, and then I didn't say that. So there's like small things that you don't think, oh yeah, divorce. It's not, but the whole world changes. The dynamic of how everything's operating changes, and the kid's like, wait, I used to hang out. I used to spend time with mom. Now I don't. Now what do I do? And they don't know why they're sad. They don't understand anything. I'm just guessing all these different things,
that makes complete sense.
It makes sense, but. It's like, so in a way that's bad, and that I will say, like, if you even read stuff on Kurt Cobain, that affected him so much. That trauma of divorce.
Parents were divorced.
Yeah, it's like I didn't realize how much. I didn't think it affected me that much, but that may have been one of the biggest catalysts in my life that probably altered how I perceive things forever.
Really?
Because I don't know, but I know I stopped drawing in 3rd grade. I didn't know I could draw until 11th grade in high school. I was randomly rummaging through my mom's china cabinet, and I saw drawings. I'm like, well, what is this? And I saw my name to it. I'm like, I drew this shit? When the fuck did I draw this? And it looked great. It was like a T-Rex. It was Beavis and Butthead. It looked just like him. I was like 6 years old. I'm like, when the fuck was it? I saw these little artist awards. I don't remember winning any of that shit.
That's crazy.
Which tells me is like, that's how bad the trauma is. I don't know what could have happened.
Maybe because you did say that was a traumatic
but it's like, as a kid, I don't really think much about it.
Out.
I must have blocked it out. I don't really think about it because, you just get on with life. I didn't really think much, and you don't have a choice just to keep moving. But obviously that must have been so. I don't know if I can't really remember what I was feeling that time, but obviously that must have been so fucking traumatic.
You blocked.
I blocked out, and I stopped being, whoever I was. I changed. Whoever I became, a different version.
Dang.
So it's like, it can be traumatic, but if you're older, you might have tools ready to handle it. So that's the positive. As a kid, what fucking tools do you have? You're trying to develop them.
And the people that you're depending on for the tools, they're not.
And then when a divorce happens, then they start losing their parental rights to trying to give you the tools because they're trying to survive now. They're not giving you these tools. Their world's messed up, but they already have tools if they developed them. It's like this vicious cycle, these small things. So that's why it's important. If people are going to get married, fucking think, like, why are you doing this? You don't have to get married. No one has to get married. You don't have to. And if you want to have a kid, think about it.
You don't have to have a kid either.
You don't have to have a kid, man. Fucking animals are great,
Animals are great.
It's a good practice.
Sorry. I'm sorry if it's kind of a touchy sensitive subject, because when you brought that up, it kind of made me think about my life, and I'm like, sometimes I think I am a little stunted emotionally.
Oh, for sure. 100%. I know for sure.
Are you saying I am?
No. I will say you.
I'm like, you just agreed with me, man. No, yeah, you are.
No, I think you are. I really do.
Okay.
I feel like I'm worse than a majority in that aspect, but I'm always trying to pursue and get better. But it's like, I will say, because you, just from what I observed at work, how you are, you're closed off. You are 100%. You could be more.
I know about that. Yeah. I'm aware of that part.
Yeah.
But also, when I say emotionally stunted, it's also, part of that is like, it's hard for me to understand how bad a situation is, because sometimes I might talk to somebody about a subject that is sensitive towards them, but to me, I'm able to pick that up.
Yeah, social cues. I have that same problem, man. I do that stuff all the time. Like, I don't realize it's that bad.
Yeah, so I'm thinking like, dang, did my parents, I think they split a year after I was born,
Oh, you were super young. So it's a little difference. You really didn't grow up with that.
Exactly, yeah. But I'm thinking like, my whole life, I always thought it didn't really affect me, But now I'm like, maybe it did, and I'm not emotionally smart enough to like realize it,
Probably, yeah.
I thought about this, because right now when you talked about your story, it reminded me of like this person that was my classmate in high school. I remember freshman year, his parents got divorced, and I saw it really affected him a lot. It changed him a lot, right? And I thought, I'm like, At that time, I'm like, my parents aren't together. I'm like, did that affect me? I'm like, I feel like I'm okay. And this is what I thought back in freshman year. But now that I'm a little older, looking back, I'm like, and I'm reevaluating my life, I'm like, am I okay? Or am I just like not really thinking about it, you know? Because now I'm like, I think that if your parents aren't together, even if of course, if they split later down the line, that's really bad. But also my situation, I'm like, was that bad too towards me, you know? I'm just thinking, like, I'm just thinking out loud, you know?
Well, so I honestly think even if you were a baby, and people don't think of babies as, oh, it's a baby, they don't understand anything.
Yeah.
Right, they're not gonna understand what words are. They're not, so if you think what a baby understands what they're seeing, they're not gonna understand what they're looking at. But if we're, as a human, we're at this infant stage, what are we supposed to pick up on? You know about energies. You feel them sometimes. I don't know if you've been places you feel, oh, this feels negative. Oh, this feels positive. I'm assuming you felt that.
I've definitely felt energies.
Okay, so now think of yourself as a baby. You feel energies, right? That might be just in us. If anybody's ever experienced energies, I feel them sometimes, and you can surround yourself on like. It can be enveloping, right? But also anger can be fucking terrifying. You don't know what it's just an energy, a darkness in there. So I don't know what you could have saw as a baby. You know you're just a baby, but there could have been arguing and stuff like that, but that's energies going on. So even if your mom's holding you and stuff like that, I always think like how some people have kids and obviously they don't want them, so even when they're changing their diaper, they're probably mad they have to do it. So this energy's going there. This energy's doing this. You're doing this stuff. That baby's not gonna know what's going on, but they're gonna feel the energy, and that's gonna cause a trauma because they might develop anxieties. They might develop a fear of like, oh, because this stuff's happening, but because it's not love that's going on. It's not a love energy going on. Who knows if mom had a bad day or dad had a bad day, and they go home and the kids start doing something, even if it's a baby, they're crying. They're like, you know what? Let them cry for a little bit. That's gonna cause. Who knows why they're crying? The baby could be crying because of something, and they just wanted to hug, but you don't. Because you had a bad day. Who knows what? It's just small factors. It's an energy. Because as a kid, you don't know anything, and that's the only thing you probably understand. You probably feel this feeling, and it feels scary. You don't know why, and then you're gonna develop a trauma because whatever a baby might think, they're gonna try to rationalize, understand, try to figure it out. And I think that's how we can. That's why it's so crucial. We are such a fucking sponge. It's terrifying, and I didn't realize this until like I was just this little kid. I was hanging around. I knew him as a baby, and then they were like maybe about to be 2. They already were speaking pretty well, and I didn't realize they were speaking a little bit, and I was just talking and saying random stuff, and then they started repeating everything I was saying. And I was like, oh,
yeah, you
I was like, I didn't know they could talk it.
You gotta watch what you do and say around kids, because like you say, they are sponges.
They are, and
they say the first like 6-7 years of your life is the most important. Yeah, and that's what shapes you for the rest of your life. And
then that's crazy because those were the most fucked up of my life. Man. I'm like, God damn it.
That's it's really crazy when you think about like the human kind of experience. Yeah. Well, first of all, to create this very gentle, loving baby, it's a very animalistic process that we got to do. You know. Yeah, so just that is kind of interesting if you think about it. You know. But then once you have that baby, it's like. I think it's crazy because going back to how it's made, right? Yeah. That's going to kind of like filter out a certain type of people that are going to make more, you know, because they're more prone to do that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Rabbits, we fucking pump it. Let's go. And then the people who are like more like good people, they might like be more closed off to that type of activity. You know, I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway.
I just feel like people, because as they, you know, move and grow, it's like we put less importance on certain things. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, I agree. Like I have my sister, she's grew up in a different kind of world. She's already has like, I don't know if she still has that many, but she's had at least 8-9 kids.
How old is she?
41 maybe. No, wait, no, how old is she? She's 45.
Still, 8 kids is a lot.
Yeah.
No matter what age you are.
Yeah, no, it's a lot.
That's a whole, wow. Yeah. That's like...
Most of those she had before she was 30.
The oldest kid and the youngest kid are going to grow up in pretty much different generations.
Yeah.
That's 8 years apart.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about it.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah. It's like I said, it's different. Circumstances are a factor. And it's unfortunate that people will live in a world where they don't get certain help, and then the only activity they can do is... that activity, you know.
I know. That's what I'm saying, you know, because like if you're a person that's, you know, kind of like on the lower end of the economic scale, you're not gonna have much to do and people end up doing that type of thing, and
Yeah.
they just
Well,
it's really interesting how it works like that.
It is. A lot of it's I think trauma can be one of a big factor. People, that's why it's important that we get tools developed as a young age, so we can. That's what parents are supposed to be doing. And I wish our school system was more set up differently. You know, because we just try to tell people things versus. It's good to get educated, of course, but we also should be emotionally educated.
Yeah, we should have at least one life class.
Yeah, you would think something like that. But
out of 6 classes, have one be about life.
That's like the schools, I guess. Like that's not our job as parents. But the thing is, most parents aren't parents. You know, shit. My dad was not ready to be a parent, and I was his 4th child. I know he wasn't because he just it's too much. It's too much to have a kid. Like stop having kids. Like shit. Like it's the weirdest thing. Like you don't need to have a kid. Yeah. You could still enjoy your life without having one. I know, man. I don't understand it.
I know, but
like that's what I'm saying. Baby around.
They don't have to have a kid, but the activity itself is what people like.
Yeah, and then like I don't believe in abortion. I'm like, well, goddamn it. It's like,
the people that do Plan B? You know.
Well. I don't know if all that stuff existed as it was back then, you know?
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Because it probably did exist, but I don't know if I trusted back then. Like, stuff is so new. Nowadays, this stuff's a little more regulated, but I know back then they didn't. I used to have to put ingredients on stuff back in like the 70s
That's
and
true.
stuff.
They're probably still in the testing stages,
you
know?
But I feel like nowadays in our culture, we, especially in the 2020s, we shouldn't be having as many kids nowadays.
I think the birth rate is declining.
Hopefully. I hope it declines where it's like people just like, you know, I don't know if we're going to be in like China one day where everybody's only have one kid.
Oh man, that would be horrible.
Yeah,
because
crazy.
It's so sad with that one child policy because Asian people, well, I think people in general, especially like more traditional people, want their last name to be passed on to the kids, right?
It should be passed, but what?
In
regardless
China,
of gender.
True. But in China, you know, that the boy, if you have a boy,
fuck my last name, I could give a shit with like
well, that, you know, that's another situation. But anyway, the boys are what get the last name passed down, right? The women, you know, when they get married, they usually change their last name. So with the one child policy, what ended up happening was there's a lot of dumpster babies.
There's that forest, you know. Yeah. People have found those. There was like
wait, there was a forest?
There's a forest out there you can go to, and it's just dead babies.
Oh my god!
Yeah, you didn't know about that. No. Yeah, there was like some people have gone there. They heard a baby crying.
It's all female babies.
Yeah, it's all female babies. And they
female babies because they can't carry the last name. That's why. Yeah.
And they actually have picked up. Some have been saved that were from there. Damn, there was like this albino. A lot of albino babies get thrown out there, and this one little girl, she was adopted from there. I don't know if she was found in the forest or not, but there's like there's adoption places. That's why if you want to have a kid, man, think about adoption. It's okay. You know, there's babies out there that need a family that. Like I said, in China, they get thrown away, literally thrown away.
That's so sad.
So it's like if you do want a baby, that's possible that they're probably just gonna get thrown away, and you can adopt. But people are like, oh no, I want to have my own. It's like, man, I have a lot of trauma in my life. I was like, I'm doing my best trying to heal this shit. So if I end up ever having a kid, they won't have the same shit, but I'll give them the tools. Yeah. But I can also provide that for somebody that I'm adopting if I ever want to one day adopt. Yeah. Because I can. That's the job as a parent. Like if you end up having a kid when you're ready. Yeah. God damn, how wonderful is that? Yeah. When you're like, you know what, I'm ready to give this kid the best life. You know, teach him great things. You know, that way when they grow up, they're gonna be a fucking amazing human being. Yeah. It's like that. I wish. Imagine that life. What our world would be like if everybody was like growing up properly. Wow.
I think I think the world would be a lot better, honestly, if we like really looked at the school system, honestly. Because if you just had one class about life and you just have like the teacher be like someone that studied a lot about psychology, child psychology and all that, or like anger management and all that, I think that would help a lot. Just to have kids grow up with a teacher that's able to give them all the tools they need, you know?
And I think I'm sure stuff like that does exist in multiple places around the world. I know a lot of kids that are homeschooled, and people think, oh, it's just at home. But sometimes homeschooled, it's just like lots of different small kids that are homeschooled all together. They're just more, these parents get together. There's different things that people do. There's different things. There's different things that people do, and I think if I am ever having a kid or thought of something like that, I'm being a part of something like that. I think if I had the opportunity, especially here in Seattle, I would love to have something that people can come for free for education. It could be just that people want to learn how to new hobbies, new skills, whatever. You know, it's just there's these things that are here where we can come and just be a part of a community where people just want to generally help people. And it's like, even if it's getting food, or it could just be learning something about the creative arts, it could be free shows getting played on. I feel like there's a lot of people here that could get together and do that. I remember seeing this video in Europe. It had like this I don't know, it was like a synth thing, but it's at a park. And it was like the synth, and you could hook it up, and there's speakers out there, and someone could just randomly go in and put on a show if they want. It's all that stuff is there at the park. It's free. And I'm like, that could so be here. And it'd be amazing. People just put on shows and just do whatever.
Well, I think there's a lot of cool things outside of America, but I think that they can't be in America because Americans are shitty. And we're gonna we're gonna either destroy that, or you're gonna have a homeless person go there and just causing a ruckus.
Well, I mean, I don't want to put Europeans, on a certain scale, but I know things in France they're similar. We're not so different than us.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I remember like when I had one of my friends that were visiting. I took him to one of our movie theaters that you get food served at, which I'm sure you've eaten at, one of those before. Well, he was looking around. I was like, wait, so they give you food? And I'm like, hey, watch theater. He's like, oh no, this won't work in France. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, we just leave. We would not pay for food.
What do you mean we just leave?
They said we just leave. They would just leave. They would get their food and they just walk out. Yeah, so but now they do it where they take your card at first. In the very beginning, they didn't take your card. You'd order. So when I first started doing it, they would just order. He's like, huh? He's just like, you could just walk out. I'm like, yeah, you would. Yeah. You just walk in, order something, and then I was like, I'm paying in cash. And just tell them that. And they
take advantage.
Yeah, I just like, and that tells me like, because these humans exist no matter where you are.
Yeah.
It's just America. I feel
just has more of them.
Not just has more of them. I just feel like our culture is kind of a way it embraces it in a way.
I was gonna say, because if you think about how this country was founded, it was really just a bunch of rebels who didn't like their old country, like and they fought back.
Before people left Europe.
Yeah, and then they
started America.
And then now you have all those. It's a country of rebels, and now you have all these other people from other countries coming in. It's just a whole melting pot.
It is,
if you think about it. Because if you think about a country like South Korea, I would think it's very unified.
Yeah.
Because it's mostly people that are Korean. They're all the same people. But America has so much diversity with not only races, but people of different backgrounds.
Yeah, which is crazy that we're also one of the most racist countries, I feel like. In some ways.
Yeah, huh?
We have the most diversity, but we also are racist as fuck. It's like,
that's a good way to put it.
People he's like, America, we all came here from somewhere else, except for Native Americans. Yeah. We are all our country's founded on like
literally
being welcoming, everything. So like we want to put a wall. That's what we're for people coming here that need help, that want to start a new life. That's America. That's what we're founded on.
Yeah.
We're all foreigners.
Yeah.
So it's like we don't have the right technique to be here at all, even though I was born here.
Were you born here?
Yeah, it was like
Texas. I forget.
Yeah, Texas, not here. Sorry, I just went to America.
Yeah.
But so technically, the only people that legally have the right here, I would think, are Native Americans. And I'm sure they would love to have their country back. I'm sure they would love.
Yeah, what a fucking story. You already live here, and then you have people from another country.
Like, hey, we're moving here. Like, hey, I don't want you here. Nope.
And they give you. They say you can only be in this part of the land.
Like, now we have all this. You just have this layer.
That's crazy.
So like, what? Wait a second. No, I'm sorry.
I know.
Then we kill you all off because we're full of diseases and we never bathe.
Yeah.
Because we're Europeans.
Yeah. I guess if you look back at history, there's a lot of bad stuff that's happened.
Don't y'all just throw your shit out in the yard and don't bury it or don't do anything with it?
I know, that's disgusting.
I was like, it's just weird. Like, no, this is how we should be living. And it seems like they were living great because they weren't malnourished, nothing.
Yeah.
Because like Europeans were little. Most Native Americans were like over 6 foot. Even the women were tall.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know about that.
Well, it's like I remember this. There was a French. It was out in Corpus Christi. There was like at the museum. There was this French explorer came to Corpus Christi, and he was shocked because how stern and serious their faces were and how tall the natives were. And meanwhile, most of the Europeans that were coming there were like around 5 foot, 5'2".
Yeah.
And most of them were like, they're 6 foot, 6'2". And this one guy that he met was like, he just was a giant.
I mean, they just live off the land,
yeah, they do.
And they really like eat good. It's a lot of good.
And most sailors, especially their little kids, and they probably ate like a piece of bread a day.
An orange.
To
not get scabies or whatever.
It's like, and like they thought, let's be more culture. Look how we live. Don't y'all want to be like this?
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Meanwhile, the Native Americans, they didn't destroy the land, and it was pretty much preserved for thousands of years.
Yeah, it was. That's how it be.
That's stuff I think about.
Bad people come in and do bad shit. But
yeah.
I was trying to segue to end this podcast, but I don't know how to segue. But no, I was trying to figure out a clever way on how to put Native Americans in a bear or something. But anyway, that's the end of it. We're at like 34 minutes.
All right.
So I think that was a good one.
Yeah.
That was a good one. We covered like a whole bunch of
topics.
Did.
Remember, ADHD mind.
I think ADHD is perfect for podcasting.
Is it? Yeah, it's good, especially for little shorts, right?
Yeah. But also, I think for the actual long form too, because it's just 30 minutes of like a whole variety of topics. You cannot get bored.
No, you can't. You cannot get bored. Over and over.
Yeah.
All right.
You know, but yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. Taking your time to listen or watch if you're on YouTube or if you're on audio. You know, whatever. But yeah, again. Broken Bear Conversations everywhere: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, and Instagram. I'm Seiko. This is Josh. And what's your Instagram again?
It's at poetry.and.lens. Poetry.and.lens.
I was gonna say you missed that dot, man. I know it because I always when I edit, I always add it in. So now I have it memorized. I know how to spell it. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching.
Thank you.